Well, hello everybody. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here today and to share some insights and learnings with all of you. I wish I could see faces instead of just chats, but again, feel free to sort of ask questions during the presentation, and I'll do my best to address. Although multitasking is not necessarily my best trait. A short background on who am I. So one of the founders of StoreMaven. StoreMaven is one of the leading platforms, or the leading platform for creative optimization in the app stores. So we help companies and app developers make better decisions on how to present themselves in the stores, both Apple and Google Play, and make both organic growth and paid growth more efficient. Being a founder of StoreMaven, I also founded a game company. I dare say in the mobile app space. So started working in mobile apps around 10 years. We managed, or I managed budgets in the tens of millions of dollars a year. Basically conceived out of this, strong urge to understand. Today's topic, though, is going to be maximizing the impact of organic. Being a student and studying the app stores, we have beneficial for all of you. Without further ado, we can begin. For everyone who's joining, hello. I'd like to first come here and say I'm really happy that this term is even being coined because traditionally, companies in mobile have only been speaking about user acquisition, and that typically just refers to the paid portion of it. And organic. Currently, there's still, I would say, a battle over the definitions of it. And what I'd like to do today is to share some of the perspectives and so if we had, let's say we came to someone, from the UA side of things, their angle would be installs that cannot be attributed to ads. So by ads, it doesn't necessarily need to be paid. It could be influencer somewhere out there. And the job of our MMPs, and we have just Kochava Singular, these MMPs are understanding what portion are coming from out there. Things. And second, the ASO perspective. So if as an ASO manager, typically the way one would define organics is by saying organics are the installs that we're getting from the platforms. So these are not falling on us from the skies, but these are installs that are driven through some form of discovery that is happening natively in the store. In short, maybe we'd call it as a result of Apple and Google both sharing a bit more data, that we could classify these people that are browsing through the App Store, so just sort of looking for something cool. Maybe it's in the top chart. Or people that are searching, they might be searching for something specific. It could be your brand, it could be a competitor, it could be just some broad keyword that relates to your business. So that same goes for both Apple and Google Play. And that's sort of the ASO angle of things. wrong here. So this might be a battle, but there's not necessarily a winner, but instead we have to think of for us as we try and actually encourage or increase boost. For that, I would like us to sort of focus in installs, because we're basically entrusting our MMP at understanding what mix of our so that we understand the impact of paid UA more efficiently. But when it really comes into the platforms and understand how we actually encourage them to give us, to promote us even further, get us more discoverability, more visibility in the native stores. So as for today, we're going to focus on organic UA through the lens of platform-driven installs. And by platforms, I mean Google Play and the App Store, respectively. So how the hell are we going to influence platform-driven installs? That is, the main question we ask ourselves as app developers and marketers. We have to put ourselves in their shoes. So let's put ourselves in Apple's shoes. We have to first, acknowledge that no matter how much love they show towards developers, first and foremost is on providing the ultimate best experience for device owners. So for a phone or an iPhone, the platforms have to first ensure of experience. And in the context of our business, we're how they can help us down. So in most cases, not just an amateur. Necessarily companies and professionals like all trying to provide real value. But how do you define that? So okay, what are we going to try and promote apps that have the best should it be the most popular apps? And if it's popularity, then is it the app that has the most installs daily right now, or the lifetime of the app? It's such a popular app that it should be the first when you search for the word candy, for example. So there's a lot of these different tensions, but first we need to think like the platforms. Doesn't stop there. From that point, we don't only need to think like them, but we need to also look at the same data that the platforms are looking at. And we can, let me put it this way, they don't look at your MMP data because they don't have access to it. And so, but still safe assumption that the most crucial influencers on platform-driven growth is exposed through their platform. Previously iTunes Connect, and the Google Play Developer Console. So we'd assume that the data that matters most from their lens when it comes to pushing you in search, pushing you through the top ranking charts, is necessary to help us become better. So I definitely think everyone here should have is you need to study these consoles very, very well. Now, we can start here with a simple example because this is really fundamental, and I've seen this happen time and time again. A lot of companies are monitoring organics through the MMP. And this is just a short validate and install. To simplify things, at the end of the day, they validate installs once a user actually download button within the store, but it's when that user actually opens the app for the first time. As good as they'll become, don't actually have ID, then that surfaces a certain problem where it's someone that just bought a new device and downloading again. But no matter what, that platforms themselves don't look at that data. For them, they have an app unit. So this is a first-time install based on a unique Apple ID, or in Google Play where it's a first-time installer as they categorize it. And here we can just see a quick diagram again to describe the main flows. What we're looking to do is get more search traffic, more impressions and more downloads, and obviously more quality downloads, and more browse traffic. Some of that as dictated by the platforms. I would say more so with Google. Now, don't just take it from me, but take it from the horse's mouth. There are, in fact, public statements by both. Recently, the Wall Street Journal did some kind of investigation to the search algorithm and app. Two factors, but the four they're highlighting are downloads, rating, the Google Dev Console, they're speaking about and featuring in the ranking logic. And one of the I tie back into creative optimization, the two of them are hinting that conversions make a difference. Conversions is create the relevancy score, and here specifically from the Google Dev Console blog has high quality store listings. Test your creatives, try and optimize them for conversion, discoverability as well. And it's pretty simple. If the word sniper game, and it's clear within your first screenshot, you would therefore increase conversions and hopefully get to give you some idea of the magnitude. And again, just to make sure there's no bias, Warner Brothers Games with their Game of results with ASO on the slide above. So this is the only experiment you should be focusing on. In fact, far more. So what should you really be doing? And this comes to the bottom line. I think the real switch that I hope to encourage you guys. You should basically be running the same exact experiments that you're running today, but measure them differently. So things like adding a new UA channel. Don't be satisfied by looking at your MMP and seeing that organics are up or down. You should be looking at the console data. You should be looking at platform-driven installs specifically to understand if, say for example, by advertising more on YouTube, you're getting now more search volume, which increased your impressions from search, which increased app units from search. So really study these consoles. If you're running a creative test with a company like StoreMaven, then look at conversions through the consoles. Don't look at it just at your MMP. ASO, if you're doing, keyword, to look just at keyword ranking, but maybe look at your share of voice, search volume, search impressions, app units in search. So there's a lot to be done. You're not necessarily going to get any magic tricks, but the same exact things that you're thinking of doing, think of it also through the lens of organic acquisition and not just UA. All right. So I see just one question in the meantime. If I've missed anything, please surface it again. First question is if I have any insights on how average rating influence conversion. Is it the average rating of the app?
Yeah, thank you, Adam. So yeah, we have some questions also coming from our colleagues in here.
Okay.
But Nat, I guess he meant he or she. I'm sorry. If average rating, which is 3, 5, 4 stars, do you have any insights? Because you shared a lot of great insights from your testing and from your studies. So how they influence conversions?
Sure. So there's several ways to look at it. In A/B testing, so for example, through our platform, we've run tests, stars, 5 stars. Where we see the biggest difference occurring is, in fact, when you range. So between 4 and 5, that's a safe zone. You're not going to see incredible lifts. 8. That said, when you actually make the jump from the 3 zone and God forbid lower, then that's when you get penalized, both from the conversion standpoint, but also from the platform. So it's not just the conversion rate question, but it's also discoverability. Google Play, and I think Apple, their guidelines for featuring an app, I believe they're not featuring any app that has a rating that's below 3.5. I don't want to guarantee that, but I'm pretty sure those are the guidelines. So we've definitely seen that that zone is the difference is, to be honest, I don't have it from the top of my head, and it probably varies by category and by app. Like if you have an app that people have a super high intent, then that's not going to be the case. For games that haven't made a name for themselves, that's where it's going to hurt more. Differences in conversion.
Thank you. Yeah, I see that some guys are asking what is the cost for StoreMaven. If there are some colleagues from the team are in the chat, so please help us. Also, there are questions about how does ASO work for a brand new first game by startup in 2019, 2020. So any insights, any suggestions on the ASO strategy?
Sure. So I think one thing that is pretty visible and clear, and hopefully this helps Ramiz also with, or Alexander with his question as well. Probably the strongest factor that influences search and explore, or search and browse metrics. To really get noticed by the platforms, you're going to have to get a lot of first-time installs, which is inherently viral, where you can, there are examples of those types of games perhaps, and sometimes apps, but an investment. User acquisition, paid user acquisition can definitely but it does, require a budget. So, I mean, it's tough news to swallow as a young, as early entrepreneurs, but that's the reality of things. App units and first-time installers make probably the #1 impact on both.
Okay, and question actually coming from our team, because we discuss a lot about search and browse these days. And do you think that browser's new search and search doesn't matter anymore? Still, like companies, teams, and gaming apps should invest in it, time and efforts.
If they should be investing
no, I mean in search, because everyone is saying these days that, well, browse is new search, and you should focus on this part more.
Really split between the two, because you'll most likely find that there's a correlation. If we even use factor, then what you see is the more app units you get, the higher. Once you're in the charts, you're hopefully also noticed by the editors that. So this is specific, probably more to the App Store, but not every featuring is even, but especially when it's recurring, and that. Ultimately, search. I mean, it's. I think in total, 60% of all in every game. Some categories have oftentimes it's 80-20, depending on Wouldn't try and say more important to focus on. Instead, I would try to figure out what can. You'll find correlation. You just have to for itself and see where there.
Okay, that's a great advice. And speaking about categories, Brahms is asking, in which category is it easier to make a success with ASO? I guess it's about it's about genres of games. So do you have any insights about it?
Mind repeating that question?
In which category is it easier to make a success with ASO?
Got it. I think what it so means. I changing keywords or creatives, but in the app stores. So, but if we're specifically referring to keywords, that I want to look at the competitiveness. So platforms such as, I think, AppFollow, I'm pretty sure that you'll present certain metrics to help us understand the competitiveness over a keyword. And ranking for a word like candy, it's not going to happen. But you can try and carve out your own category, or look at other keywords that are less competitive. I don't have all the stats in front of me to share, but I mean, ultimately, those are the things that you should be looking at. Again, it's really, really hard to be competitive in ranking in search if you're not. That's what we've seen at least.
Okay, great. And there was one more interesting question. Let me see where it was. Someone was asking for advice how to get into suggested on my Play Store page. But well, any ideas? Any shortcuts for success?
Well, I would say through the Play console nowadays, one of the interesting things that they've done as of so they're basically trying to help your peers against competing businesses, and so that they'll be looking at is above a certain threshold in terms of from that, and hopefully get pushed in experience of Google Play, because Google Play is I believe, in their app. And so therefore, the numbers there, it's not just about the relationship, but it's really about your numbers. And I think the fact that the Play console is showing you these benchmarks is an indication that they take that very seriously.
Okay, great. Well, thank you, Adam. Everyone else is...
I can use my mic for asking my question.
Sure, you can also use the camera so everyone can see you.
Yeah, Adam, thank you for your presentation. I have only one question. What will be trending in ASO in the next year? How do you think about it?
Oh, wow, that's great.
Oh, wow. That's a difficult one. I think what's going to be trending in ASO this year, I definitely sense this, from the market in my discussions. Companies are becoming more and more eager to understand the influence that paid user acquisition has over platform-driven installs. Question about the K factor. So for every dollar spent on paid, how am I, getting pushed in the organically? And I think that's definitely one of the biggest trends of this year.
Awesome, great.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know if you see eye to eye. Actually, it would be. I'd love to reverse
I
the
believe
question to
in
you.
browse channel. I think it is huge opportunities for everyone, and we think about we should care about feature it, about average rating, and so on and so on. That's why keywords research or keywords is a lower impact factor, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. No, very interesting. Yeah, happy to hear your presentation. Hopefully, we'll. In fact, that's just the tough part is for a lot of companies out there, it's not a sustainable source of income versus the companies that get more featuring. But I tend to agree. It's an untapped opportunity. No one really understands Explore to a full extent. I think that's it's going to be an interesting place to look at.
Okay, thank you, Adam. Thank you, and for joining and finally turning on your camera. So, Adam, I hope you'll stay with us for a bit longer because you have a lot of questions to ask in the
Sure, 100%. Yeah.